Hi, guys. Welcome back to Suburban Black Girl. We're on episode 13.
1-3.
Today, we're going to be talking about the power of letting go.
Period. Live and let go.
Yes, in all aspects.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, first question is, how do you know when you've outgrown a relationship, a career, or mindset?
I think two things for me. Number one is just like feeling unsettled. Like it's kind of just like intuition or subconsciously, like your body's trying to get you to move, get you to do something different. Like you get that itch. And I would say the other thing for me is I don't like feeling complacent. So when I feel like I'm starting to get on cruise control or just coasting, then that's when I realize it's time for me to like challenge myself again, or to get out of my comfort zone. So yeah, I would say when I start to feel like complacent, definitely pushing myself out of my comfort zone, whether that's a job or a location or whatever it is.
Yeah. No, that's very fair. I definitely agree with that. I think for me, it's more so also just feeling as though I don't feel fulfilled anymore.
Mm, yes.
And you no longer feel like, you don't feel like you're being fed. Like I'm still starving. I'm still
Mm,
hungry.
mm-hmm.
And I noticed that when I feel like that, I'm like, okay, obviously I've outgrown that situation or that person or that thing.
Yeah. I feel like there can be not so much relationships, but like especially jobs, right? Where
Oh
like you
yeah.
can start off as like, or even cities, locations, like you can start off as like a small fish in a big pond, and then
Hmm.
eventually you can become the big fish and the pond is small. And like that's when you know it's time to like challenge yourself and push yourself outside of that realm.
No, that's a great point
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you've reached your max potential there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's the worst being in a room where you're the smartest.
Yes. And you
So
should never be
definitely
the smartest person in the room.
never,
Yeah.
never. Why do you think some people feel guilty or hesitant about moving on from things that no longer serve them?
I think a lot of people live in fear of failure, and also live in fear of getting out of their comfort zone. I think the what if people focus too much on like what's the worst thing that could happen and not potentially the best thing that could happen
Right.
by moving or quitting a job. And I think that fear quite literally holds people back and prevents them from taking any sort of action, and there's a huge fear of the unknown, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And some people embrace it, and some people are just comfortable with their job where they know what they're going to get every single day, or the hometown that they grew up in, and they stay there, they raise their family, and their family raises their family, and that's, you know, that is a content life also.
Right,
So
for sure.
not everyone wants to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I think when you want to push yourself to new heights and new levels of growth, that pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and exploring new places, new opportunities, meeting new people, it's inevitably a requirement to get out of your comfort zone. So, yeah, I think that fear really holds people back.
For sure.
Mhm.
No, I definitely agree with that. And I feel like in order to succeed, you have to fail.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And failure is such a huge part of success. You're not going to be successful unless you fail at in one way or another.
mhm.
Um, I think a lot of times also the perspective of why some people may feel a way about it is also because, of course, if you outgrow a job or maybe a relationship or a friendship, it affects that other person or maybe that company or that coworker because
Yeah.
we're humans, so we attach to things. And when you
Mhm.
detach yourself from something, some of us may feel bad about that other person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think guilt plays a part in it. Like,
Yeah.
and I've experienced that in like a relationship I had no business being in anymore, and like the person cheated on me, whatever, and I still felt some level of guilt leaving, like I was abandoning
Yeah.
them or something. And it's just like, why? I'm doing what's best for me. You
Yeah.
made your bed, you have to lie in it. But like you said, we're humans, and
Yeah.
I don't lack empathy. So of
Right.
course, like I feel bad to some capacity. But at the end of the day, that's something you have to get over. But yeah, you get attached to your coworkers also. And, I left a job recently where I really enjoyed all of my coworkers. And like,
Mm,
that was actually a sad goodbye.
yeah.
But I'm definitely in a better position and a better opportunity now. But I think some people even like get attached to their managers, right? They don't want to go
Yeah.
out for a promotion because they feel some sort of loyalty to their manager or to their team. But it's like, your manager, you don't think they're going to take the promotion the second that it comes
Right.
for them? And also, like, you should never be loyal to a person because they
Yeah.
could get fired tomorrow.
Right.
Um, and also you don't even got to be loyal to a company because they'll drop you tomorrow
Yeah.
without hesitation. Not they won't give you 2 weeks notice half the time. So I think you kind of have to put some of those emotions to the side and like think about what's best for you also.
No, for sure. Because there's nothing worse when like someone randomly quits and you're like, oh, I had no idea. Like she really just dipped out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've learned that's just how you have to do it.
Yep.
Because the more you start talking and starting the rumors on the office that you're leaving, nah.
They'll just get rid of you.
Exactly. You move in silence and leave in silence. Like
Yeah.
it did break my heart because one of the recent companies I'd left from, I just couldn't tell everyone I was quitting until I quit.
Hmm.
Because it's like you have to protect yourself at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And as much as people can be your friends in the workplace, they're not. Everyone's going to
Yeah.
do what's best for them at the end of the day.
No.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, babes, but I'll let you know once I send that resignation later. Like
Yeah.
that's just how it has to be sometimes.
Yeah. And it sucks, like, it does suck when you like your boss.
Yes. Oh, that's so
I
hard.
remember, like, quitting my last job, and I, like, put 15 minutes on my boss's calendar, and
Uh-huh.
she's like, "Don't tell me you're leaving." Like, and it's like,
Oh.
yeah, and so, um, that sucks, but we still text here and there, so,
Oh, that's sweet. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
but, life goes on.
Yeah.
Life must go on.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Absolutely.
mhm.
How can outgrowing something be seen as a form of self-love or self-growth?
I think it's a clear indication that you've been working on yourself. And also maybe that you have like stronger boundaries, whatever it is, like especially outgrowing friendships. Um,
Yeah.
when you've been putting in the work on yourself and you no longer feel aligned with certain people, um, it can feel like uncomfortable, but I think it's a good thing ultimately that you're not staying in the same place.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes the people around you are not growing at the same pace that you are. I mean, I think when it comes to self love, too, right? Like you can outgrow relationships that aren't good for you,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? When it like that moment finally clicks where you're like, this isn't for me. I deserve better than this.
Yep.
Then, I think that's like self care and taking care of yourself.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. I think definitely outgrowing something, I think self love and self growth go hand in hand because it's like, I feel like in order to grow and you're like, I no longer am accepting this or no longer dealing with this, that's a part of your self love. That's knowing your worth and your value. So I definitely think they go in hand. And I
hmm
feel like they're definitely something that go together.
hmm
But just like you leave a relationship and it's like once you finally know your worth, you're like, I'm out,
yeah.
you know?
And it sucks because, like, once you're out of those situations, you realize, dang, I really was not loving myself enough.
Yeah.
When you look back on things or treatment that you put up with, it's like, geez, I really could have loved myself, better care of myself
Yeah.
in those moments. But hindsight is 2020, and you live and you learn. So when you just do better next time.
No, for sure, for sure. And I'm also realizing now, I think some of us when we go through certain relationships or situations, it's like I feel like if your friends aren't in healthy relationships or situations around you, then it's kind of like you don't know whether or not the situation you're in or the relationship you're in is truly healthy.
Mhm.
if your friends may be going through similar things or maybe something worse.
Mhm.
Or it's like maybe you guys have different relationship statuses. So it's just kind of like, uh,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's as healthy as you think it is, you know?
Yeah. And I was just talking to someone about this too. Like, when you are in a relationship and like you're seeking advice, it's just like, I don't know many people in relationships or healthy ones, or
Yeah.
like, you know, someone in like a 50-year marriage, like that you can go, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough.
Because we were just talking about like, do's and don'ts and what's the right way to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no one has the freaking answers.
No.
Because where are the people that like have been together, for years and years and years? It's
Yeah.
just like, it's few and far in between. So I don't know. A lot of times it's like nobody has the answers.
No, because everyone's relationship is so different,
Hmm.
especially once you kind of learn the ins and outs of it and the highs
Yeah.
and lows. It's just kind of like, what are you willing to put up with and
Yeah.
accept? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just realizing, I think for me, it's just, I need to find someone that I know is my best friend. Like, we have to be friends.
Hmm.
Because I feel like if you're not friends, then that love stuff can fade. I feel like
Hmm.
love sometimes can come in waves,
Hmm.
especially as we get older and things like that, possibly. So I think as long as I know you're my best friend, then we should be able to make it because we have things in common because you're my best friend.
Yeah. And that like kind of helps towards like that solid foundation.
Yeah.
Um, because obviously, yeah, the love kind of like ebbs and flows
Right.
throughout like a long term
Right.
relationship. But like if the friendship is always there, then I think that helps.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just think overall, like people have different boundaries in within their relationships. Like what's a boundary
Hmm.
for you and yours might not be a boundary for me and mine. Everybody has their things and their rules and their what's respectful and not respectful
Yeah.
in a relationship. So I think it literally just varies depending on the person and the relationship.
No, for sure. Definitely. Okay. Next question is, what advice would you give someone afraid to let go of a job, a relationship, or possibly a way of thinking?
I would say the longer you entertain what's not for you, the longer you delay what is.
Come on.
That's what I would
That's the one.
say.
Period.
um, yeah, like literally, that's it. I think you can't be afraid to make change because it's required. Like, if you have a vision for your life of where you want to be, you're gonna have to make certain changes to get there.
Regardless, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you want to be like a celebrity makeup artist, but you live in like Wichita, Kansas, you know,
Yeah.
you probably are going to have to get up and move.
Yeah.
And so that would be the advice that I give. Like, you've got to not be afraid of making some changes, some sacrifices, but also taking risk.
Yeah.
Because that could be a risk. Move to a more expensive city, move somewhere that you don't know anybody. That can be hard. But if you put in the work and you pray about it and you have the faith, then, you never know what can happen.
Right. No, I agree. I definitely believe in like no risk, no reward. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? In order to get the reward, you've got to risk it all.
Hmm.
And there's nothing that I've ever achieved that I didn't take a risk on it.
Hmm.
So just a risk taker, period.
Hmm.
But not everyone's like that. A lot of people, like you said, live in comfortability, right? But I do believe in whatever you left behind or you're leaving behind, just know that it does get better. You will meet a better person. You will get a better job. You will meet a better relation, have a better relationship. I always think that there's better to come if you let anything go in the past. You know what I mean? Like, no offense, but there's not a relationship, a friendship, or a job that I've left that I regret leaving now.
No, literally no.
Like, thank you. Next.
No, for real. Like, not at all.
Yeah.
I think an example for me was moving to Houston. Like, I just decided during COVID in 2020, I was like, I could have a much better quality of life not in New York City.
Hmm.
Um, and I up and decided to move to Houston. And my job at the time, despite it being a literal pandemic, was not open to remote work. And
Mm.
so I was going to have to find a new job. And so I literally moved to Houston anyway because I knew they couldn't fire me. Like they still needed me.
Yeah.
I think I moved to Houston in July, and maybe like a couple weeks before like my last day, because
Yeah.
it like kept getting extended, I got a new job. And one, that was a risk to just up and move and say, well, F what y'all think, I'm still moving.
Right.
Then number two, I actually kind of changed. Like I was working in-house for a brand, and then I switched to like working for agency.
Mm.
So that was completely, number one, I moved to Houston, which was out of my comfort zone. I knew one person here. Number two, my role switched, and I'd never worked for an agency before. So that was out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Agency life.
Risk wise, I could have lost my job before I found a new one.
Right.
And also risk wise, I actually took like well, not small, somewhat of a pay cut with the new job. And so, yeah, that was a lot of risk and like sacrifice, whatever, in one. But it's like, I've met so many people in Houston. Yeah. I've like now have my base here. Yeah. I think life is a lot better now. And so without literally taking those risks, I would not be here. This podcast wouldn't even be a thing.
Right.
And so it doesn't all like look bright and shiny at first. But I wouldn't change it now.
No, I totally agree with you on everything. Like me just making the transition of I'm leaving LA, I'm moving to Houston. For me, it's been 8 years. And boy, it's been a journey. But honestly, when I think about like who I would be if I still lived out there, oh my gosh, like I probably wouldn't have accomplished half the things or met half the people or had half the experiences. Like I think being here in Houston, Texas, most of my 20s has been the best decision I could have ever made in my life. From my like spirituality, my finances, my friendships, even my relationships, whether they worked out or not. You know what I mean? Like I've really enjoyed that. But I still have a lot of my friends that still live in LA, and their life, their quality of life just isn't like mine.
Yeah.
And, I don't regret taking the risk because I'm like, it completely changed the trajectory of my life being here. And I do believe you've got to leave your hometown to really see what you're made of.
That part.
And it's so important when I watch people that really leave their hometown, the amount of things that you achieve, it's inevitable because you have to grind. Like people are literally watching you back home like she ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people really aren't rooting for you. You know what I mean? So I definitely agree. Like you've got to do it, especially when you're that transition between whether it's high school or after college. You have to make a move.
Yeah.
Even if it's for a year. You know what I mean? Even if it's a year.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah. And I think the worst thing you could have in life is not having. I think the worst thing you can do is having like to say what if I did.
Yes.
It's like better to have tried and failed than to have not tried at all. So
no, seriously.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And even if you fail, you still gain something because you learned something. You learned what not to do.
No, for sure. For sure. And I know when it's all like said and done and I'm reliving my last moments of life, I will be able to say I tried and did everything I possibly could. And I think for me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Doing everything I thought of, dreamt of, and just wanted to do. So
yeah,
we have one life to live. And
Exactly.
boy, like we have to live it. It's too much going on in the world to not try.
Child, like, and and so many people are on their deathbeds like, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I did, it's just like, go for it.
Yeah, seriously. What strategies have you used to let go of something without carrying emotional baggage?
Out of sight, out of mind. Blockiana.
And she definitely stands behind that block.
Honestly, out of sight, out of mind. Like, if you're trying to move on from someone, seeing them on it pop up on your stories on Instagram every day is not helping. No. So if I'm not blocking, I definitely will hit the mute button. I will mute somebody really quick. And honestly, I will totally forget sometimes. I mean, depending on the situation. I live by that, out of sight, out of mind.
I like that. I have no reply to that. That's a great answer.
Nothing else?
No, I don't know. I think I've really mastered being unbothered.
Mm,
So things do get to me for a little bit and then eventually like it goes away. But
mhm.
it doesn't take me long to kind of like start to get over something.
No, I've had to learn to like not take things personally because people's actions rarely is about you and says
Right.
everything about them.
Yeah.
And I've had to like, even when people are like snippy or whatever, whether it's a stranger, somebody on the street, a customer service worker, whatever,
Ugh,
like
yeah.
just remembering it's not about you. You
Right.
know, they're having a rough day or you never know what people are going through. So I'm still working on that. It's
Yeah.
just, you know what? Bless your heart.
No,
Instead
yeah.
of taking it personal, whatever it is.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, I think for me, I just learned like, okay, if it didn't work out, that just means something's better to come, you know?
Mm,
And I'm just like, oh, well, thank you, for, Laura, for just getting it out my way because
yeah.
clearly I know you got something better for me, you know? So I think once I started seeing the positive in those type of things,
Hmm.
I think that's kind of what helps me just move on without carrying the weight of
Yeah.
just like, damn, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, I forget what the exact quote is, but it's like, you know, if God told you you have to like kiss 15 frogs before you came across your husband, you wouldn't be upset every time like a situation failed,
Right.
you know? Or if it's like you had to apply to 50 jobs before you get an interview, you wouldn't be upset when you didn't hear back. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
so when you look at it that way, it's like, all right, well, that one wasn't for me. Thank you. Next.
No, for sure, for
Hmm.
sure. And it's like through each situation, it's you learn.
Hmm.
I think the older we're getting and the more we date and stuff, you just learn more of who you are and what you truly want. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I think that's the beauty in it.
Yeah.
I'd rather make the messes now than, have a child or be married, to the wrong person. So
Yeah.
I don't mind messing up another time.
Child. I was just having that conversation yesterday. Like, what is your biggest fear? Mine was, yeah, like wasting life away in a terrible situation or like with the wrong person or whatever. Like, we have one life to live
Yeah.
and like just having a miserable life because you're stuck in a situation or because you can't block somebody
Yeah. Or you just didn't.
because they're like your child's father or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Like I would hate knowing it's like, God damn it, I didn't get out quick enough.
Yeah.
And that I agree, that's my worst fear.
Hmm.
Like, if you feel like you want to dibble and dabble, do that a little bit and get out.
Yeah.
Like, get out.
Hmm.
Hmm. How can you respectfully let go of a relationship or friendship that's no longer aligned with who you are? Mm, respectfully.
Exactly. That, that's the key word is respectfully because
So I'll be honest. This is how I do it. I just start to make myself less available.
Mhm,
I do struggle with confrontation and telling someone how I truly feel. I
mhm,
think sometimes if I tell someone exactly what it is or how I feel, it can come across off as a little blunt,
mhm,
and that's not my intention. So, um, I don't know. I For some reason, certain types of people attract to me, and when I notice the attraction, and it's like I can't get them off me, literally, I just tend to give them less of my time, less of my energy.
mhm,
And I think I hate to say it, the less time and energy you give someone, eventually they kind of like fall back and it's just like natural.
mhm.
I think that's how I do it because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And
So you just let it fizzle out.
mhm, yes, I do that with everything. I don't know if that's
Is
healthy.
that a real strategy?
Yeah, I just did it recently with my last situation or relationship I was trying out.
Mhm,
Yes, I fizzle out.
mhm.
I don't like I said, I don't know if that's healthy, but that
Yeah,
just works for me.
yeah,
Gradually.
yeah. See, I was thinking that, but I'm like, is that a proper way?
Right.
It's a non-confrontational way.
Right.
Um,
But I'm like, is it healthy?
because also like, especially like a situation, whatever is different. But like, if you're
Mhm.
in a relationship and you know you're not happy,
Mhm.
then what? It's just awkward, 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 awkward till you're finally
Right.
like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah, so I think That's a good point. I think if it's someone I've been with for a while, then I've absolutely a conversation will be had. And I think, you know, we can have a few conversations. If nothing changes, then of course it's like, all right, well, let's just end this.
Mhm.
But I think I more so will do that with situations or people I'm dating that maybe we're not dating that long. But I honestly will do that with friendships.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree with that cuz I don't know. I feel like I'm not confrontational, but I feel like I can maybe be more direct when it comes to men. I hate friendship confrontation. I don't
same.
want anything to do with that. That I'll definitely just try and like avoid and let it fizzle out.
Yeah.
Cuz those hurt in a different way, but they hurt, especially like, a long-term friendship or whatever it is.
Yeah, like it's worse than a bad breakup sometime, you know?
Mhm. For sure.
Why is it important to trust that releasing the old makes room for better things?
Because you can't drive looking in the rearview mirror.
Queen of quotes, queen of quotes. We're about to make it a segment
It's
for
like
real.
actually not a joke anymore because I don't know where this stuff like pops into my head from. Like I just have a pocket in my brain full of quotes.
Oh my gosh, I'm so dead. But no, for sure. I totally agree with that.
Um yeah, I mean you can't move forward while still looking back. And there was something I read the other day too. Anyone trying to hold you back is already behind you. I think I read that the other day
That's a good one.
too.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes people themselves hold themselves back out of fear of what could happen or whatever, what could not happen, fear of failure. But I think oftentimes people's family members, their relationships, whatever, hold them back. Or friendships,
Absolutely.
like, you have this like bright, exciting idea and you bounce the idea off some of the people closest to you and you end up discouraged
Yeah.
because they are in fear and they could never put themselves out there like that or they could never take that risk. And so to what we've been talking about is like you kind of have to be careful about who you confide in or who you tell your plans to because you can end up discouraged. Um, and so I don't know. I think when you like want to move forward with a new idea or a new life, you kind of have to leave what existed in the past.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Definitely. I definitely take it from a spiritual perspective, and I just feel like you have to have faith and you have to believe and you have to let go of that thing that's really just binding you
Mhm,
in order to get what you truly receive and what you truly deserve.
mhm,
So I definitely always believe, especially that's why honestly I fast in the beginning of the year because I'm like, what needs to go, what needs to stay.
mhm,
And I feel like I always have something that I thought, I couldn't live without, just leave.
mhm.
But I think that's a big part of why I fast, just because it's good to have clarity.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's hard to let certain things go, but you have to know that there's so much better out there when you do,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I think also too, when you look at it from the perspective of if it was not you, but if it was someone you loved, if someone you loved was in the same relationship you were in, what advice would you get? Well,
Hmm.
would you want, would you encourage them to stay? Or if they had a potential job opportunity, but it was across the country away from all their friends and family, like, would you encourage them to do what's best for their future? And so I think sometimes you kind of have to take your own advice.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I think more than anything, make sure I take my own advice because, like you said before, not everyone is going to do what you do. A lot of the things we do may sound crazy, but
Hmm.
that's why I just move in silence with a lot of things because I'm like, I don't need any outside voices telling me why I should not.
Yeah.
Because if I did, boy, I will be back there
Wouldn't
with them.
yeah, exactly. And that's another thing too is not taking advice from people who are not where you wanna be.
Yes.
So, You know, it's like we all confide in our friends about things, but it's also like none of us are in a healthy relationship at the end of the day.
Like,
So it's like
love y'all, but
take it with a grain of salt. None of
literally.
us are millionaires yet. So, you know, at the end of the day, the person you know you can consult with is God.
No, for sure, for sure. And I think, it's even I'm really taking myself out of my comfort zone and aligning myself with people that have more than me and do more than me, but they're older. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to feel intimidated or
Mhm.
don't want to feel like I don't know as much as them, or maybe you may feel not as intelligent or smart, but it's like that's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay because it's like those are the people that really can mold you and shape you and make you to be even better than them, because it's like you're still young.
Yeah.
A lot of people, we don't really learn what we should do or not do until you're over 30. So it's like if you can get it in your 20s, you're set.
Yeah.
So I definitely align myself with people that do better than me for sure. It's
Yeah.
important. It's
Yeah.
so important.
And I think to that point, something about getting out of your comfort zone, depending on your personality type, is networking.
Yes.
Like it's definitely uncomfortable to like reach out to people that you don't know
Yeah.
or reach out to someone and ask them to be your mentor or like whether it's like messaging people on LinkedIn, like that's definitely so awkward for me.
Girl,
But
yeah,
like
same
one
here.
connection, one relationship can change your life. Like my current job, I literally only got through a referral from an old coworker.
Yeah.
You know, because I applied and didn't hear anything back. And then now that I'm at the job, they had like over 500 candidates
Oh my gosh,
apply.
Blake.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
it's
Wow.
like your network is your net worth.
Come on.
So
It totally is.
yeah.
No, it definitely is. And it's taken me years to really network and to socialize and be
Mhm.
open with people maybe that I don't know, because
Mhm.
I'm just like, closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that myself. Like, being an attractive woman is not enough. You have to have more than that. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And so, um, definitely, I think me networking more over the last few years has helped me so much.
Mhm.
And I'm learning it now, mostly really in my like entrepreneur journey. Just, I need people to help me do what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I have people I can reach out to for advice, or, hey, I need you to help me on this project because I need you to do this. And it's like, I got you.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier. So you never know when you're gonna really need someone. So it's just important to just keep connecting, and eventually, like, you'll see.
Yeah. Seriously. I have to get better at that. Like networking more. I mean, I think it's tougher because like working from home
Yeah,
and
bro.
stuff for the past oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh my God. March will be 5 years I've been working from home.
That's crazy.
March of 2020. Like I literally have been working from home since
Oh my
COVID.
gosh.
Yeah.
But you're so right. Working remote, that definitely affects networking,
Hmm.
because you're not able to have face-to-face contact, connection,
Yeah.
anything like that. Yeah, it's definitely harder. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. But I also cannot go back.
Yeah, no. It's very
I've built
ghetto.
my whole life around being remote at this point in my lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
So jolly.
sorry.
But honestly, I don't know. I'm not there yet. I think I would take advantage too much. How do you identify when something is holding you back, even if it's not obvious at first? I think kind of goes back to the question I asked you earlier. You just don't feel, I don't know, like you said, you feel uncomfortable, maybe feel uneasy. I think for me, I just no longer feel like it's serving me.
Hmm.
But I definitely feel like energy is off,
Yeah.
and there's something in your gut like that's kind of just,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
like that intuition is like
Yeah.
itching. And I think you can ignore it for a while, but then it starts to get louder and louder and louder.
Yes.
And then that's when you're like, okay, time to listen. Or
Yeah,
sometimes life just smacks you in the face with something and you have no other choice but to listen. So
for sure.
that happens too.
Yeah, definitely. I think as you just naturally start to disconnect, or maybe you get quieter,
Hmm.
or you're not as engaged, I definitely feel like those are signs.
Yeah. Yeah. And when things like start slipping through the cracks,
Mm-hmm.
or you start to become unfocused.
Yeah, for
So
sure. How do
just
you deal with loneliness or discomfort that can sometimes come with letting things go?
especially the loneliness.
Huge.
Um, I think for me, two things like praying and journaling,
Hmm.
um, to kind of like deal with those feelings, but also finding productive things to do to fill your time.
Yeah.
Productive things and things that can fulfill you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know not everyone can be alone. It's hard for a lot of people to just be simply alone. But I think if that's something you're struggling with, absolutely, you have to occupy your time with something else. Like, don't just sit in bed or on your couch watching TV. That's how you get bored and find yourself back in the same thing that you just left. So I definitely keep myself busy to keep my mind off of that thing.
An idle mind is the devil's playground.
Look at
I
you.
don't know if that's the right word, the right quote, but it's something like that.
Yes, no, I know yes, I know that quote. But no, absolutely.
I think too, learning how to be alone is important, period.
Yes.
Because a lot of people keep people around them that they have no business having around them for the sake of not being alone.
Yeah.
And the sooner you can get comfortable being alone, I think the better relationships you'll have, better quality relationships or friendships, whatever it is you'll have.
No, for sure. Because a lot of times we just hold on to relationships and things because of the years.
Mhm.
But it's like years mean nothing the older you get.
No, at
Like
all.
you can meet someone tomorrow that's way better than someone you've known for 15 years,
Yep.
So
Yep.
I definitely agree with that. And I definitely think, even especially when it comes to dating and relationships, there's a lot of women that have never been single or they've never just kind of cold turkey men.
Mhm.
And it's like you have to have those just healthy breaks and detachments from men sometimes.
Mhm.
I think that is when I really like lock in and really discover like what I'm willing to work with and what I just can no longer deal with anymore. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
It gives you time to reflect one on your past situations and to your
Yeah.
point, what you like and what you didn't like. But also, yes, we live in our bodies every day, but the time alone gives you time to like get to know yourself,
Yes, absolutely.
and especially at our age, just like learning who you are,
Yeah.
literally, still, even still at our
Yeah.
age. So,
No, for sure. And let's be honest, I think when you're dating or you're in a relationship, your mind gets a little foggy.
yeah, no,
So
seriously.
sometimes, you need to clear your head a little bit
Yeah,
and see what it's like to be without that person.
no, rose colored glasses can happen for sure.
Yes. We've all been there, but
Yeah,
it's okay.
yeah. But that time alone helps you take them off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. How can someone rebuild after letting go of something significant? I will say a part of rebuilding is rediscovering who you are, what you want, and how you want it. So I definitely feel like that's just how I feel about that.
I would say taking your time too, right? The dating example, you take a break, you learn what you like, what you don't
Yeah.
like, you learn about yourself, and then you slowly start integrating it back into your life when
Yeah.
you're ready, and you move with discernment, and you move slowly and you take your time, and um, continue to remind yourself and like apply those values that were important to you, and like what you learned about yourself and what you need. um, right, like for me, I had a job, I was looking for a new one, plenty of opportunities came my way, but I knew I wanted to be remote and that was important to me
Mm,
and my lifestyle. And so I waited and waited and waited, and I knew I wanted to stay in, like, I didn't want to freaking sell grills or
yeah.
like fishing supplies.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to stay in like the beauty fashion realm. I knew I wanted to stay remote, whatever it is. And so it took me like 4 or 5 months to find a new job
Yeah.
that
It
was
takes
like
time.
up to my standards of what I wanted, and like wanted for myself, and the salary and the title and what I wanted my remote life to look like. So, yeah, patience
No,
in
absolutely.
rebuilding.
No, for sure. And I definitely think when it comes to rebuilding, giving yourself the time, you have to give yourself time in between to just really figure out, okay, what do I really want?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think sometimes so many people jump from this to that so quick. And it's like you haven't even given yourself enough time to really think out, like, is this really what I want to do again?
Yeah.
or, truly what do you want to do next?
Yeah.
So, yeah, everything you said, spot on.
Period.
Well, that concludes episode 13.
Yep. On that note, it's Friday. We're going out on the town after this.
We're not outside girlies, but we like to get a.
No, we're celebrating a friend tonight. Celebrating
Actually,
a
we are.
friend
We
putting
are
a business deal through. So
absolutely
a sale through. So
yes, and we love to celebrate any type of milestone.
that
You have
part,
a milestone, we're celebrating.
like we said in episode 12. So
Yeah,
that part.
absolutely.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.